Hello, Chad Frantzen with Kingdom Finance Show. Thanks so much for joining us on today's program. I wanted to give you an introduction on today's show. Today, I'm interviewing David Lapp, the CEO of Blessings of Hope. And I think you'll be extremely encouraged and inspired on how to steward what God has put in your hand to advance resources for the kingdom of God while helping and making what we call a commitment to human flourishing just with what's around us. Blessings of Hope takes food that is going to be destroyed and sent to a landfill, perfectly good food, and they connect it through their distribution network system to ministries and people who can use that food. Some really exciting statistics that he shares that we need to be aware of as kingdom investors, kingdom entrepreneurs, and really his vision is to never say no to God. And as we say, always think bigger than where we are currently. It's estimated that the U.S. government spends $1.2 trillion per year on welfare, and that 24 to 25% of what is in a landfill today is food related. Some staggering statistics on this, but it's not a lack of resources. It's actually just having people and organizations that can be the bridge that can connect the resources that are already out there to the needs that are present. I think that's such a great picture for us as kingdom entrepreneurs, kingdom investors, where we're stewarding resources that already exist. We just need the strategy for how to build a bridge to the resources and the people or the things that are in need. So be inspired today as you hear me visit with David Lapp of Blessings of Hope. David, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So David is with Blessings of Hope, and they're based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I affectionately came to know David and his group as the Lapp Brothers several years ago. It was just the Lapp Brothers are here. So a great Amish community in Pennsylvania with a strong heart for Jesus. And I think we met you through Lance Wallnow several years ago, if I recall. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So
Lance invited us to this conference in Colorado, and we thought we were going to a Lance Wallnow conference. Turned out we had a whole crew of wild and crazy people beyond Lance that were just having a great old weekend together. So we learned so much from the team already.
So you got to meet Billy and Becky Epperhart, and I know they fell in love with your story and what you all are doing just in what I call the world of transformation, which is powerful. I know you got to share at the Wealth Builders Conference in Denver this past February 2024. But I'm excited to hear your story. I've heard it a few times. When we talk about God moving in transformative ways, I mean, your story at Blessings of Hope and with your family is really remarkable. And just so people know, I'll just give a brief introduction and then you can share more. But, Blessings of Hope, you're a nonprofit. You're really committed to addressing the global food crisis, right? Yeah. And really this, I feel like a blueprint God's given you for food distribution, kind of taking the waste and leftovers, particularly in the U.S., how inefficient we are with food, and really creating a distribution plan for how to get that to people in need. And you've got a big plan. I've seen the presentation, and it's powerful. And I know you were sharing with me offline how much growth you've had in the last 5 years. So tell us a little more about Blessings of Hope, how it got started with you and your brothers and family, and just kind of how God planted this seed in you.
Yeah. So, if you think about world hunger, you hear politicians talk about world hunger, all that kind of stuff. World hunger is a couple $100 billion a year issue, but we have the resources that we need to end it. That literally, if half of the global food waste would be recovered, it would end world hunger. That's what statistics show. And so stepping back, 2006, we started out in ministry as Light of Hope Ministries, more as a counseling ministry and a church group. And out of that, we had 5 families that started the ministry, and we were working together pretty closely as a community. And we had a need for food ourselves. When we started in the nonprofit world, we had all come from business world. And we had heard, when you start a nonprofit, you send out a newsletter and people send in a donation check. And, this is like clockwork. This is how it's
How it
supposed
works.
to. And, we found out pretty quickly that you send out a newsletter and you don't hear anything. And it's like, okay, Lord, what's this all about? So we went on a journey with God here in, 2005, 2006, and really just digging into what God wants to do. And through that, Aaron Fisher, one of my partners, started helping at an outreach, and we started hearing about some of the exceptional volume of food that is being wasted. That is still a perfectly good product. It's in date. It's getting close to expiration date, but it's mislabeled, overproduced. Whatever reason, these companies have to get rid of it. And what we started hearing is these large corporations have the product available, but they don't want to deal with 50 organizations every day. And then you have the nonprofits that want 10 boxes of that semi-load volume, but they can't take a semi-load of fresh produce every day. And so what we developed as Blessings of Hope is a distribution model where we serve the nonprofits. We take the semi-load volumes into our warehouse, and then we make that available to the nonprofits at whatever volume they can use. So not only are the food donors saving by not having to pay disposal fees, but they're also able to get a tax receipt because they are donating the product. So it's a win-win for everybody. And so what we've created over the last 18 years is a distribution model where today we have over 200 food donors that we receive product from. We bring that into our warehouse. If it's fresh produce, we'll sort it. We'll repackage it. Maybe in a big box. We'll put it in little bags where it's easy for ministries to grab it and to hand it out. And then we have our food selection centers where the nonprofits come in and select whatever volume of whatever food we have available. And last year, we had over 1,400 organizations that we served with food. We had over 200 donors that gave food to us. And then our volunteers they'll be sorting food, packing boxes, stocking shelves, all kinds of stuff that volunteers can do. And then last year, we had almost 180,000 volunteer hours recorded, with over 20,000 individuals serving over 64,000 shifts. And it's just incredible to see the support.
20,000
individual volunteers that have volunteered last year. Since 2020, we have over 40,000 registered volunteers from 47 states plus Canada, Puerto Rico, and Mexico that have physically volunteered at one of our locations.
So that's what I was going to ask. I mean, you get people not just from the Northeast, around Pennsylvania, Ohio, wherever, that are coming, but actually got people flying in from all over the country to come and serve.
There's different people when they're in the area visiting friends. They'll come over volunteership, or we have some people from Alaska that they have family in the area. They come in a couple of times a year. Part of their trip is always to volunteer at Blessings of Hope, and it's just a part of their trip.
I love it. I love that. Who you mentioned 200 different food donors. Just give the listeners an idea. Are those like kind of local grocery stores or regional franchise grocery stores? Who are those donors usually?
Most of our food comes from distribution centers. We're talking pallets of product that's already packaged, sitting on a shelf, and you got to go somewhere with it. That's where by far the majority of our food comes from. So just to give a little bit of backstory around food waste in America. We live in a nation that wastes 30 to 40% of all food produced. That's right on the USDA website. 30 to 40% of all food produced in America is wasted. There is no food shortage. I keep hearing about food shortages, about that kind of thing. And we keep coming up with this thing. There is no food shortage. There's some management inefficiencies. There's some management challenges, but we have the resources available to end world hunger. There is no question in my mind, if the resources are currently being produced, that would end world hunger, because they are. It's an opportunity to steward those resources and utilize them for God's glory. That's what our passion is stewardship and impact. How can we use a waste product, or a product that is being wasted? It's not necessarily a waste product, but a product that is being wasted get that out through our church network, through our ministry networks, people in need, and then impact them to not only share the gospel, but share, classes with the people that we're talking. We can empower them to do financial classes, life skills training, just basic life classes that would empower them to overcome the challenges of food insecurity. And what we're seeing is if we can empower the church to be the church, empower the church to be the hands and feet of Jesus, empower them to actually make an impact on their community with food, but then also other programs, because with the government-run programs, they're very strict around sharing the gospel. They're very strict around allowing any kind of other educational program while they're giving out food. And the way we see it is if we can empower the churches, empower the ministries to share other programs while they're giving out food, we can use food as a tool to open the door and then use these other programs to literally change people's lives. And from a big picture perspective, we believe the reason the government's in welfare is because the church isn't stepping up and doing what we're called to do and taking care of the community. So if we can empower the church to take care of the community and take care of the welfare needs of our community, then the government doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And last year, I think it was 2022 or 2023, the federal government spent $1.2 trillion on welfare. And we're looking at this thing and saying, this is crazy because the government was never meant to take care of never meant to be in welfare. That was meant to be the church's job. So with our model, our focus is to also empower the church with tools to educate, to lead the community into who God called them to be.
Yeah. What a business model. And just the fact that there's, would you say 30 to 40% of food is wasted in the US, and it's not a lack of resources, right? It's just a lack of mobilizing them correctly or supply chain management. Many other issues. That's such a good principle for us as kingdom investors and leaders of there's plenty of resources and it's just more of us, like you said, learning how to steward it wisely and to be a champion for that. David, tell me how many distribution centers you started in Lancaster, you're kind of expanding. Give me an idea of your footprint. I know you all are having some phenomenal growth. What does that look like right now as far as your distribution centers?
So up until 2019, we had been in multiple lease facilities. 2019, we were in a 16,000 square foot facility, and we had to either do a 5-year lease extension or move out. And we had this property came up for sale in the area. It's a 48,000 square foot warehouse. And through multiple miracles of God, we were able to acquire that building, which is the first building that we owned. And we thought we had 5 to 10 years to grow into that building. We literally had plans of, dividing our big cooler because we didn't want to waste energy cooling the whole room. We had meetings discussing renting out a part of the building because it was huge. And within 6 months, we were out of space. 2020 rolled around. We had a 500% growth in 2020. And most I counted, we had 52 trailers sitting on our lot in 2020. Most of them were for storage. And so we went from getting this 48,000 square foot warehouse, which was 3 times the size of what we had, thinking we had 5 to 10 years to grow into it, to being out of space in 6 months. And a lot of that, it had to do with COVID, but it was also just God opening up the floodgates and showing us that, we have never seen it where we provide more space for God to fill, that it doesn't just get filled just like that. And so in 2021, we opened up another warehouse, 23,000 square foot, just for storage. 2020, we actually opened up a satellite location in Campbellsville, Kentucky. And then in 2022, we opened up our first standalone food selection center. That's a 29,000 square foot facility here in Lancaster, where any nonprofit that's serving the community can come in and select food at whatever they see that they can use, Doesn't matter if it's fresh produce, if it's chips, if it's meats, whatever, they pay a 31 cents a pound handling fee.
Yeah.
And then the handling fee revenue at this point more than covers our cost to run the selection centers. The outreaches that we do, which is what we use to control our inventory volume, we send truckloads of food into Baltimore, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, some of the bigger cities around us, and that's where all donations that we raise go to help fund the outreaches, because these smaller churches in the bigger cities, they don't have the financial means to pay the handling fee on a full truckload of food. So that we use that as an outreach side and also as a means to control our inventory. In 2023, we also got into food processing, food dehydration specifically, where we can take fresh produce, we can dry it, give it a shelf-stable life. Dehydration preserves over 90% of the nutritional value, shrinks to less than 20% of volume, and you can give fresh produce a 5+ year shelf life. And so last year we also bought a facility, a 50,000 square foot facility that we are looking to get into large scale food dehydration, as well as probably some freezing and possibly some juicing as well in that facility, where there's so much opportunity of taking fresh produce and processing it, where it is literally a product that will be wasted if we don't figure out a way to process it. Yeah. And just being able to utilize more of what's available.
Yeah, I think you all brought some of that dehydrated fruit to the Wealth Builders Conference. I remember trying some of that. It's great. And so, and I used to do that growing up. I mean, we had our own garden, and we did canning, and we did, dehydration, and it's just, I mean, a great way to be smart with your fruits and vegetables, and make sure they have a shelf life where you can. I mean, we had a whole pantry with just all things that we had canned and freeze dried, and this is obviously a much bigger scale.
Last fall, we were offered 235 semi-loads of apples, and they would have dropped up to 235 semi-truckloads of apples at our dock at no cost to us. I think we ended up getting around 30, maybe 40 loads of them, but there was so many apples that just went to waste because they couldn't find a place to go with them.
Yeah. Now, you were telling me offline before we started, I mean, obviously you've been around for a while. You had some phenomenal growth in COVID, which has really springboarded you into, I want to hear more about the vision God's given you, obviously in your role as CEO, and expanding it. But correct me if I'm wrong, but you were telling me, 2019, 2020, you had around 8 employees at Blessings of Hope. And now
that is 8. Yes.
8.
Not,
right?
Not 80, 8.
Not 8. Like, we can get this out, like, my kids, like I can say how old I am on one hand or 2 hands. Like, we can use 2 hands here, 8. But now we're filming this in the summer of 2024. You have around how many employees?
Around 115 to 120 right now. Yeah.
Okay. Phenomenal growth.
It's just been incredible. The people that God brought together, right people at the right time to lead a department. It's just been phenomenal to see who God brought into the organization, and then just empowering them to utilize their skills to lead their department has just been incredible.
Yeah. And I think that's a big takeaway for us as kingdom entrepreneurs, investors, business owners, is if God gives you that mind of a kingdom business person, entrepreneur, like, you're out there, you're creating economies, you're creating jobs, you're creating opportunities, you're creating these jobs, which has a huge impact, financial impact, lifestyle impact for families. And, we shouldn't lose sight of that. If God gives you a vision for something, He's going to provide you the resources, and you all are testimony of that, of as you stepped into it, suddenly there was, 230 crates of apples, or suddenly there was this distribution facility you could buy that you didn't think you could get your hands on. And what is incredible, that, the impact we can have when we have a vision and we put it to work, whether you're for profit or not for profit, doesn't matter. Like, you're creating, so much opportunity for people. So David, as a CEO of Blessings of Hope, like what's God showing you and the team as far as where you go from here and how you grow and scale what God's put in your hand?
Yeah. So we believe we have an opportunity to take welfare private. And to do that would require a national organization. What we're seeing as a big picture vision is what we call our BHAG, our Big Hairy Audacious Goal.
I like it.
Yeah. 18 to 20 large distribution centers across the nation, could be up to 1 million square foot, large distribution facilities that would each serve 30 to 50 food selection centers around it, where we're serving every major city within a 1 day truck drive of a distribution center. So what we're seeing right now, we have a minister selection center in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We have one in Campbellsville, Kentucky. The Campbellsville, Kentucky location we're seeing would probably end up being a distribution center in the future because of where it's located at. And then what we're seeing here is that we have organizations driving 2-3 hours every week just to get food here at Blessings of Hope. So rather than have them all come to Lancaster, where they're just flooding our facility, where we're almost not even able to function anymore because we're so full, put another selection center out towards Philadelphia, one up towards New York City, one down towards Baltimore, Harrisburg, and diversify or spread out our selection center model and serve them in their area. And if we can do that, then we can have a greater impact on that area. And with the whole food distribution, we're also working on what we're calling our Keys to Abundance program, where we're going to have a message of the week, be on a 3x5 card with maybe 15 or 20 words that would go into every food box. All the ministries would get these to hand out. It would go out an email. It would go out to our volunteers. This is the message of the week. If they do nothing but read the card, they'll get a seed, and then a QR code to an overview, and then a 45-minute teaching on that topic. And what we're seeing is even just some of the basics that we learned as a 5-year-old, where you show up on time, you keep your word, you give more than you take. Those types of principles, if we can start speaking those out, getting them out to the people and helping them change their mindset from I'm always going to be a victim, I'm always going to be in poverty, I'm always going to be dependent on whoever, to hopefully sparking their mindsets to overcome these challenges and actually rise above them, and be a successful person in society and actually give back to the community. That's our real passion, is to literally change society for God's glory.
Yeah. So Blessings of Hope coming to a city near you, right? I mean, it's you're gonna keep going westward, right? Westward expansion from Pennsylvania and Kentucky.
Right now we could probably expand into about 20 different states if we, once we have the resources the last couple of years we've really put a lot of effort into solidifying our systems. This is how it works. This is what's needed to do a selection center, and actively working on an expansion plan where we're documenting our systems, we're documenting our strategies, and we believe this could very quickly mushroom into other areas.
Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. What do you view as kind of one of your biggest challenges right now, just in implementing and scaling out what God's shown you to do?
A couple of years ago, I would have said key leaders. At this point, we have a lot of key leaders in place. Coming out of COVID, it felt like we had more infrastructure than leadership. Right now, it feels like we have more leadership than active infrastructure again. And it feels like God's getting ready to push that next level of infrastructure where we can just, expand our footprint pretty rapidly with the leadership that has been put in place just the last couple of years. So I would say that the biggest challenge that I see is going to be building the infrastructure. I'm talking the physical warehouses, distribution centers, that kind of thing, and just being able to grow that out and to do that responsibly. That we don't grow too fast, but but still step out where God called us to step out at.
Yeah. Yeah. And you may have shared this stat earlier, but I've heard you speak multiple times as far as the amount of food that you're getting. And again, these are pallets that are coming
Mhm.
in, right? Pallets upon pallets. Like last year, for example, uh, the measurement of how much food you were able to take in and distribute. What would be
Yeah.
that
So
amount
last
volume wise?
last year we distributed 26 million pounds of food to over 1,400 organizations. According to my calculations, that's about 3.5 ten thousandths of a % of what's available out there. We live in a nation that wastes a semi-truckload of food every 13 seconds, and 24% of everything that's in landfills is food-related product. So
Yeah.
26 million pounds of food, according to my calculations, is about 3.5 ten thousandths of a % of what gets wasted.
It's
We
not
have
even
about,
scratching the surface. Yeah.
yeah, we are barely scratching the surface. We have about 110,000 square foot of warehouse space. If everything's filled to capacity, I estimate we're somewhere around 5 or 6 minutes worth of food waste in the U.S. if everything's full to capacity.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Hmm. Do you ever see where a large corporation might want to be a strategic partner for you all and what you're doing just in the infrastructure and scaling? Because there's some corporations say, hey, we want to, one of our causes, and these are secular companies. There's like, hey, we want to help end poverty or clean. We want to provide clean water, or we want to have an answer for food waste. I just wonder. And maybe we just speak this into existence. If there's a large corporation, a Fortune 500 company says, "Hey, we would like to help with that, financially or warehouse wise." Like, hey, we have the facilities and because
Yeah,
they're not doing it missionally, they're doing it well. It's just more, we see that as a problem and we want to include that in what we're doing.
yeah, I don't know of any. I mean, not at this point. I mean, we of course have partners that donate product.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but as far as like from a warehousing or significant, yeah, we've had significant donations already, but there's still a lot of people out there that don't even
yeah,
know about Blessings of Hope, that don't even know, you know, how to get involved. And we're fairly new on the block as far as coming above board, if you will.
yeah,
2020 really put us on the map as far as the USDA had a Farmers to Families food box program where they were taking food that the farmers produced that was being left in the field. They would pay the farmer, they would pay a packer, and then the packer would distribute that through a nonprofit. And we were distributing for, I think it was 7 or 8 different packers that we were the distributor for. And we distributed over 1% of the national volume of that program in 2020.
yeah.
And that really put us on the map with a lot of different companies in the area. And even just a crazy growth that we've had through that whole process. And then the relationships that got built through that is what's, carrying on into where we're at today.
Yeah. Incredible. Well, I'm believing that there's going to be a corporate strategic partner in the future for Blessings of Hope that not just financially, but just that already has the real estate, the structures.
Yeah.
I just listening to you talk, I just feel like um, I just see that in the future. I've never shared that with you, but I feel strongly like, there's corporations that,
Yeah.
they want to be involved in this, particularly if they have warehouses, they have real estate on their balance sheet that maybe they are creating food, processed or natural or whatever. But
Yeah.
praise God. Well, I want to wrap up with a couple things. I'd love for you to share how people can find out more about Blessings of Hope, if they want to donate, if they want to come out. I know you were telling me before the show, you trying to get me and Billy and Becky Epperhart to come out and come see it firsthand. But tell us a little more about that, and then I have another question for you before we wrap
Yeah.
up.
So as far as reaching out, your blessingsofhope.com is a lot of information on our website. I'm on a lot of the socials under David Lapp. There's not a lot of David Lapps on like LinkedIn or Facebook, but I think I'm pretty much maxed out on how many friends I can have on Facebook, but LinkedIn, if you want to reach out, feel free to connect. Uh, as far as tours, there's nothing like actually walking through the warehouse, seeing the product, seeing the quality of product. We have products similar to what you'll see at a grocery store. And it's crazy to think that we are literally limited on how fast we can give away free product based on how fast we can raise the capital to do that. And as we're going into, as we grow with our selection center model being funded by the handling fees, putting more product through our selection centers is definitely a direction that we see ourselves going in the future, where we're able to utilize more product and actually generate the cash from within, that we don't have to depend on as much donations. From a financial perspective, 2018, our operational budget was $600,000. This year, we're looking at a little over 10 million. So we've had a little
operating budget.
$10 million operating, up from a 600,000 in 2018. So 6 years that's a pretty significant growth.
Very significant. Yeah, and it's just going to keep going. I've heard more of your plan and what you all are doing. So I believe that'll be, it'll be 20 million before you know it, and onward from there. Well, we really appreciate what you and the Lapp brothers and your community are doing. I know Billy and Lance have had you speak at different events, and I wanted to have you on the show just so people could hear your story. I think from a kingdom entrepreneur standpoint, it's just a really powerful message of, God giving you a vision and a passion, and then providing the resources to do it. Because, I mean, on paper, it just seems like that's very insurmountable to do. Right. But it is, with God, all things are possible. And he has all the resources in the world, right? The scripture says he owns all the cattle on 1,000 hills. So, I mean, you're just a living testimony of that.
We just need to introduce the resources to each other so they can solve each other. Because what we see is we have this huge opportunity over here of food waste. We have this huge opportunity over here of food insecurity. And then we have this little dot in the middle called Blessing the Hope that's trying to bridge this gap.
Yeah, you're the bridge. Yeah,
and then we have the whole community that can actually invest into Blessing the Hope and help build the infrastructure to where we can funnel more of this food that is being wasted to people that need it, and share the gospel, share the kingdom story with that food distribution.
Yeah, I mean, you really are that bridge between lack and the resources that are already there. They don't even have to be created. They're already there. It's just, like I said, it's a logistical connecting.
We are not looking to create more resources. We're not looking to raise more product. We're not looking to produce more product. We are looking to steward what's already being wasted, what's already being produced.
Praise God. Well, David, thank you for being on the Kingdom Finance Show. I'd love to ask you one closing question. Just, we have a lot of business owners, investors, entrepreneurs. I mean, you and your community are super sharp. You have the favor of God on you. I've watched you from a distance and gotten to know you in the last few years. For those listening who own businesses, or they're running ministries, churches, for-profit companies, I mean, what's your advice on how to really manage and steward what God's given you, based on your experience?
About 5 years ago, I think it was 2019, when we were looking to buy that first warehouse, we had this conversation, and we were talking about, over the years, we kept hearing people tell us that, they knew God called them to do something, and it just didn't make sense, and they fought God for 10 years, and they finally gave in to what God called them to do, and it worked. And we had a conversation around what would it look like if we would never say no to God. If we would be intentional and we're never going to say no to God, instead of trying to educate God what's possible, and instead of trying to tell God this is too crazy or we can't do it or whatever, what would happen if instead of that we would say, yes, Lord, how? Show us how to take the next step. And it's amazing to look back 5 years and see how often God just took us step by step through something that we had no idea how to get through. And it's like, wow. And then we look back and we're like, okay, if we would have decided ahead of time what was possible, instead of trusting that God had a plan, we would be at a completely different place. Because I am here to tell you,
Yeah.
what we did the last 5 years was not through our wisdom, through our, hey, we
No.
figured this out. It wasn't. It was literally the hand of God leading us through and allowing us to be a part of what he wanted to do on earth.
Praise God. Yeah. Yeah. Never say no to God, right? I know, like
Yeah.
Andrew Womack and Billy Epperhart say, like, you're thinking too small. You need
Yeah.
to think bigger. And
we are not our own. We are committed to
yeah,
walking where God called us to walk. And, with that, there's a responsibility to submit our mind to his and
amen.
not allow limitations, and also don't allow stress, because, we didn't build this. God built this.
Yeah.
Like I've had people ask me already, how do you sleep at night with everything you got going on? I was like, I just lay down and sleep. I literally don't worry about
Yeah.
what's going on. I tried worrying once. I got tired of it after about 10 minutes, so I went back to sleep. It's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
God didn't bring us this far to only bring us this far. And if God's not in it, we got better things to do.
That's right. That's right. Well, and if God is building it, if he's the architect, then he's going to sustain it and hold it up.
Yeah.
If David or Chad, if we're the architect and the builder of something, whatever it is, it could be a church, could be a financial business, whatever. But if it's just me building it, then I've got to sustain it,
Yeah.
and it's not a God thing that's sustaining it and building it. And I
Yeah.
think that's a huge distinction, particularly in this, age we live in.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, David Lapp, CEO, Blessings of Hope, thank you for being on the Kingdom Finance Show. Please give our love to the Lapp brothers in the community there. Please check out Blessings of Hope and their website. Get connected if you want to donate to good soil, good seed there. Please support them. And I'm going to have to make plans to get out there and get boots on the ground and see you all.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Thank you, listeners, for being a part of the Kingdom Finance Show. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode on Blessings of Hope, and also the Kingdom Finance Show with your friends and family. Again, our goal is just to give you wisdom and encouragement on how to walk as a kingdom investor, a kingdom business owner that, as David's illustrated, really stewardship and impact of the vision God's given you.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next time on the Kingdom Finance Show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today on the Kingdom Finance Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps to get the word out. For more resources on becoming a kingdom investor and to connect with us directly, visit our website at wealthbuilders.net. That's wealthbuilders.net. We'll see you next time on the Kingdom Finance Show. The content provided is for educational purposes only. We encourage you to seek personalized investment advice from your financial professional. For all tax and legal advice, please consult your CPA or attorney. Investment advisory services are offered through Authentic Counsel, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Cabin Securities, a registered broker-dealer. The content of this podcast does not constitute an offer of securities. Offerings can only be made through an offering memorandum, and you should carefully examine risk factors and other information contained in the memorandum.